Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Truth. I'm your host, the one you love the most, Niall Hassan, back with a brand new episode here on The Truth. Back once again with not AJ Ponciano, but myself. I hope you guys are having a fine, well, it's going to be Thursday by the time you see this, but a fine Wednesday evening. Today, I am riding solo, hit it by Jason Derulo. AJ and I were not able to get the Thursday night special done together. AJ was supposed to be on the show, but then he got stuck with Coach Scott, setting up a turtle. So completely understand, but it is 9:30 Central Standard Time. And honestly, I'm going to be going to bed soon because I got lift early in the morning. And by the time this podcast comes out, I won't be able to record it again. So I figured I'll ride solo for this one. Besides, my opinion is the only opinion that should matter anyways. AJ doesn't know what he's talking about. But anyways, guys, this is going to be a shorter episode, which is probably to your guys' benefit. We're going to go through our starts, sits, sleepers, and busts. When I say we, I mean me, and go from there, as well as give a game prediction between this match between the Patriots and the Jets, an AFC East matchup. This is our first interesting matchup of Thursday Night Football, to say the least. I didn't know I was expecting a Patriots-Jets Thursday night matchup in week 3, but nonetheless, we got football, so I'm super excited about that. I have 3 starts, 2 sits, 3 sleepers, and 1 bust. So we'll get going with that. Sorry about the lighting too. I think I haven't mentioned this in any of my podcasts, but obviously, as you guys can tell, I don't really have much natural light in my apartment room. So I do apologize for that, and why the quality kind of looks a little bit spotty for those that are watching on Spotify or watching on YouTube. If you're just listening to the audio, then great. You don't have to see my beautiful face. But I just wanted to throw that out there that I am aware the quality of the video isn't looking tremendous. This is our first year using Riverside, so we'll really be able to kind of learn more about it as we get going through the year. So yeah, super excited about this episode. Let's go ahead and hop into it. My first start of the week, or I should say Thursday Night Football, is going to be Ramondre Stevenson. This is going to be, I would say, a necessity must start. The only reason why I put him as a must start is because he is going against the Jets defense. And I know the Jets defense maybe hasn't been top tier that they were expecting. Some people were expecting them to be a top 2 defense. I don't think they've certainly made that the case so far. But I think maybe that's one of the things that a lot of people are a little bit skeptical about with Ramondre. But I'm not too worried about it. Ramondre has shown a lot of elusiveness out of the backfield. He's been a bright spot for that Patriots team. 25 carries and 21 carries last week, 81, 120 yards, and then the receptions as well. So he's everything you ask for in a running back. In my opinion, he is my RB1 in one of my leagues, and I feel very comfortable with that. But Ramondre has done everything that you really expect out of a running back, especially to the Patriots, who weren't expecting to do really anything to start off the season. Starting off the season on the right foot, Ramondre is definitely a must start against that Jets defense, even though the Jets defense is considered to be one of the better defenses in football. Secondly, I'm going to go with Antonio Gibson. This could also be more of a sleeper, but the production that he had last week really piqued my eye. Had 11 carries for 96 yards. He averaged 8.7 carries an attempt and the 1 reception for 7 yards. But I look at 7 to 10 carries. This maybe is more of a sleeper, I should say. I probably should have classified him as a sleeper, but I would start him in some leagues, especially if you're kind of in an interesting position here. Antonio Gibson, obviously had a decent career in Washington, kind of up and down year, but he's progressing up. And I think as a Patriots fan, you got to be excited about that. But Antonio Gibson, again, paired alongside Ramondre Stevenson, we obviously knew the Patriots going into this season were going to do a good job, or at least attempt to do a good job of running the football with Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson to get either Drake May or Jacoby Brissett or my guy Joe Milton some opportunities to have success. But it looks like it is mainly Ramondre's role. But the fact that Ramondre had 21 carries and last week against Seattle, Antonio Gibson had 11. I think one of these guys for sure, more so Ramondre, but even Antonio Gibson could keep that same workload up there as well as get into the end zone once or twice more. So really liking the Patriots running backs. I guess I could just classify them as one. And then my final must start is Hunter Henry. So yeah, going with 3 Patriots here. This was not on purpose. I just felt like, these were 3 guys that I definitely would be starting. Hunter Henry last week had a tremendous week, 8 receptions, 109 yards. He felt like he was the only guy that was targeted by the Patriots. Felt like every other person had like 1 reception or whatever. A quiet week 1, 2 receptions for 18 yards, but a tremendous week 2, as mentioned. He's bound to get into the end zone as well. The Patriots offense has looked so smooth in recent time, at least this season, which again wasn't really, I guess, expected for them. The way that they've been able to have success so far, they are 1-1 on the year. But Hunter Henry was a big reason why that offense was able to thrive and move forward last week, and I think that's going to continue in a difficult situation in New York on the road. Hunter Henry, I always love tight ends. I say this every Thursday. Tight ends, tight ends, tight ends. They always seem to get to the end zone regardless of who it is. I think Hunter Henry can do that. And if he does do that, paired alongside what he did last week with the 8 receptions for 109 yards, Hunter Henry is poised for a big week. And he's one of those guys that not too many people are talking about, only rostered in 37.9% of leagues. Let's go ahead and go to my sits. They're both going to be quarterbacks. First is going to be Aaron Rodgers. I'm really excited about Aaron Rodgers. I've always been excited about Aaron Rodgers this season. Obviously, a little bit of a disappointing week one, but hey, it was his first week coming off a torn Achilles. 8.5 fantasy points. Last week bounced back nicely, 18 for 30, 176, and 2 touchdowns for about 15 fantasy points. So, I'm kind of at that range where I'm like, you know what, Aaron Rodgers, I think there's still time for him to have success, but 15 points isn't really going to cut it unless your team's really in depth as wide receivers, running backs, tight ends. I do like the late quarterback strategy, and Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys that I've been piggyback on. I know AJ has said that Aaron Rodgers is his dark horse to win MVP. I don't think we're going to go that far, but he's at least shown progress in the right direction, which is going to be something that I think is going to be very crucial for his fantasy value moving forward. Again, though, against this Patriots defense that I think's performed a lot better than people are giving them credit for. They've always had a good pass defense, especially under Belichick, especially early on with Mayo. I think Rodgers has got to do a better job of getting his wide receivers going. 167 yards, 176 yards in those first 2 games. Yeah, is that good? Sure, but is it just consistently 15 points every week and get you a fantasy championship? No. Again, unless your team's really stacked in different positions. Thursday night games, in my opinion at least, as far as not necessarily matchups are concerned, but just in general, I've always felt like are low scoring games. I know last week it's kind of funny that there was another AFC East matchup and it was the 2 other teams, the Dolphins and the Bills, but defense always seems to be a prevalence, especially in these Patriots Jets matchups. I think the defenses are going to really step up to the plate nicely, which is going to end up having, profound impacts on overall quarterback play and overall offensive play. And then secondly, I am going to go with Jacoby Brissett. A lot of people could classify him as a bust. He's only rostered in 1.3% of leagues, but I think some people were a little bit more optimistic about Jacoby Brissett, especially going into this week, just to see what some of the passers have done against the Jets defense, like Brock Purdy, for example, in week 1. Totally drawing a blank right now on who they played in week 2, but I don't think there's any reason to start Jacoby Brissett. Week 1, he looked a lot better, but he's just a game manager, right? Especially at this point. If the Patriots are sitting at 1-1, he's just a game manager. He's a guy that's supposed to be a bridge quarterback for a guy like Drake May, who may get some repetitions this season. They're still up in the air about that. But Jacoby Brissett at the moment, he's not going to pass for 300 yards. If he does, he'll probably do it once or twice. That's about it. But he's just going to kind of hang out in the middle there and have the successes that you'd expect him to have, but not too many successes, not go crazy, but do enough for your fantasy team. I just don't like the matchup. I do like the Jets pass defense. I'm not a big fan of the Jets run defense. So that's why I'm fading Jacoby Brissett in quarterback play and up on running back play, such as Ramondre and Antonio Gibson. Let's go to my 3 sleepers. The first one I'm going to do is Braylon Allen from the Jets. Big Braylon Allen fan. I've been a big Braylon Allen fan, and people are starting to give me some credit. Okay, Braylon Allen finally kind of broke out into the scene, per se, last week for fantasy. 7 carries, 33 yards, and a touchdown. 2 receptions, 25 yards, and a touchdown as well. Are the chances he's going to get 2 touchdowns high? Probably not. But at the end of the day, I think a guy like Braylon Allen could serve an important role at that running back 2 role. I think he could be similar to Devon Achane, where he kind of had a quiet week 1 and then really exploded in week 2. Obviously not to the magnitude of Braylon Allen, but Braylon Allen at least got to 19, 20 fantasy points. As an RB2, that's pretty impressive. You just look at a guy like Braylon Allen. I'm pretty sure he's like the youngest guy or one of the youngest guys in the league. He's like 19 or something like that. So he's got tremendous upside and value moving forward. Really excited to see what he's going to do. I think he could pair himself along nicely with Breece Hall, not only this season, but in future seasons. Aaron Rodgers has always had 2 great running backs. That's what's made Aaron Rodgers great. I think that's one of the reasons why they went out and got him. I also believe they drafted Isaiah Davis. I know they definitely drafted another running back alongside Braylon Allen, but it's one of the things that makes Aaron Rodgers great. And I think a lot of people sometimes are a little bit questionable about that. They're like, really, is this a guy that can really develop into something spectacular? And I do believe so. I really do. And I think he's one of those guys that not enough people are giving him credit for. And that's something to really watch out for. He could be a guy that kind of freakishly gets his way into the mix and is able to have good success, especially as an RB2. And again, he's not really rostered in a lot of leagues. I really was trying to get him in my Dynasty League. I unfortunately didn't. But again, a guy that a lot of people should be looking out for as time goes on. I lied. I only have two sleepers. I clearly can't do math. I was combining my sleepers and my bust. So I'm going to give you one more sleeper, and it's going to be Tyler Conklin. This is a deep sleeper. Tyler Conklin hasn't done much, if anything, this year. Just one catch apiece in his last two matchups. But Aaron Rodgers and Tyler Conklin together had a great training camp, and I thought there was going to be a deeper connection than there was. Mainly with Tyler Conklin, it's a deep sleeper because there's a lot of upside with the touchdown value, and that's basically it. I really think that Tyler Conklin's going to get into the end zone for whatever reason. I don't really know. I just have a gut feeling. I feel like every week, as I mentioned, tight ends find a way to get to the end zone. Is he going to be starting in your league? Most likely not. But if you're kind of weak at the tight end position and want a guy like Conklin, I definitely think he could be your guy that has success. Okay, finally, my one bust for the week is KJ Osborne, my Viking. 3 receptions for 21 yards in week 1 reception for 7 yards in week 2. Kind of on that downward trend, and he's kind of expected to be on that downward trend. They had Jalen Polk and another guy drafted. I can't think of his name. But again, the Patriots wide receiver core is a bit interesting. It's not one of those wide receiver cores that you're instantly looking at and I'm like, oh, they're going to be like super successful. No. But KJ Osborne was kind of brought in to be like a veteran leader and a veteran wide receiver, kind of like Mike Williams was in New York. So it's one of those things that KJ Osborne probably isn't going to be started or even on your roster unless you have a deep league. He really had a good success that last season with Minnesota, but that was basically it. So really be curious to see kind of what his impact is moving forward. If he's able to get somewhat, I guess, on the field for the Patriots eventually. I just don't see it happening, at least anytime soon. I see him more as a veteran wide receiver presence there. As far as my game prediction, give me the Jets at home, 16-13. Yes, a low scoring affair between the Jets and the Patriots. I always feel like every time I go with a low scoring affair on a Thursday night matchup, and really a low scoring affair in general, it's never the case. But I'm betting. Well, I'm not betting money because I can't, nor do I not want to, nor do I don't want to. But if I were a betting man, I would bet the under, whatever that is. I seriously don't know. I'm going to go 16-13. And if it's 29.5, that's the over under. It is under, but that's an extremely low over under. Regardless, the moral of the story is I think the Jets went at home 16-13. I think it's a defensive battle here. I think both defenses step up to the plate nicely and are able to have success overall. It should be a fun AFC East matchup. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It's going to be a competitive game. Question is it going to be a low scoring affair or a high scoring affair? But it should be competitive regardless. Thank you guys for listening to another episode here on The Truth. If you guys did enjoy it, make sure you follow The Truth on Twitter at The Truth as one to stay up to date with the latest information regarding The Truth, including podcast dates, podcast uploads, and other important information you don't want to miss. Make sure you guys also follow The Truth on Instagram and TikTok at the.tt.truth. Are you looking to find a drink that offers peak hydration, raises your energy levels, speeds up your recovery, and keeps your mind sharply focused on memory? Look no further than Acid Rainwater. I'm excited to partner with Bloodline Sports AZ and Acid Rainwater, which focuses on peak hydration and productivity, will also maintain the ecosystem-friendly product. Use code HESSON15, that's HESSON15, for 15% off every purchase. As always, I'm your host, the one you love the most, Niall Hesson. Sorry AJ wasn't able to come on here. Really do apologize for that. I know he was really looking forward to it. Hopefully we're able to get in for that Sunday start, sit, sleepers, and bust. Hopefully recorded tomorrow or Friday. Hopefully he's back for that. But as always, I'm your host, the one you love the most, Niall Hesson, signing off. Take care and good night.